What's going on, Workforce? Brian here, and it's been almost a week since we saw the reveal of the PlayStation 5 and Square-Enix's newest Luminous Studios project, Project Athia, talking about whether that game is going to fit into the Final Fantasy ecosystem or be a new IP altogether. And I think generally it's definitely going to be a new IP, but in today's video I want to dive in to get your thoughts, especially as it relates to Project Athia, Final Fantasy XVI, Where Art Thou, and obviously Project Athia. So for some reason I almost drew like a blank. I'm like, what is this name? I can't pronounce it. Anyway, so if you're still with me, let's go ahead and dive into your comments and see what you guys had to say about the latest reveal from Luminous Studios. So Farrell kicks us off talking about the PS5 in general, how it looks, making a fun joke saying it looks like an air humidifier, and Michael follows it up saying that they think the system looks sexy, and I actually agree. I like the white, I like the blue highlights. Overall, I don't care. Like it looks really like a cool system. Excited to hopefully get my hands on it this fall. Ethan is really kind of where this starts to dive into more of the game conversation, saying the Demon's Souls remake was the best part of the PS5 event, although Project Athia looked interesting, and though he doesn't think it's going to be a Final Fantasy game, it really gave him a Dark Souls kind of God of War vibe. And one of the things that was brought up in the comments is talking about Agni's philosophy in regards to that, is that this is kind of that real-time tech Square demo, and everybody was wondering, like, is this the next Final Fantasy game? And then with Agni's philosophy and then like Project Athia, there's definitely some connections that we can make with what Square-Enix is doing engine-wise. A curious question to you guys, what y'all are thinking. One of the things I've noticed is that Square-Enix has been making the move to Unreal Engine for several of its properties, and we're seeing that now with Final Fantasy. But yet, Luminous Studios was founded, and I'm wondering with their Luminous Engine, with their division that focuses on making game engines so that they can make games, if we start to see kind of just wholly two different directions for Square-Enix. In fact, they've even announced a whole new studio. They're making moves, and we covered this on the podcast over on Ginger Gaming Radio the other day, just talking about the money that they're making. Moshen Koji, forgive my horrible words, feels like Final Fantasy XVI is going to be multi-platform. They believe this is going to be a new IP, but it looks cool. Now, it is important to note that over this time, and it has been confirmed that this is a timed exclusive to PS5. It's also coming to, we know it's coming to PC, but Xbox has already gone on record that this is going to be a game that shows up on Xbox as well. So we saw Final Fantasy VII R as a timed exclusive. It's still timed exclusive at the time of this recording. So I'm wondering that they could tap in with a timed exclusive with the Final Fantasy brand. I doubt Square-Enix would just take a Final Fantasy game and say, this is the only platform it's on. It's interesting, Crystal Chronicles is somewhat doing that, even though it is on like iOS and Android and Switch. So they're still kind of a multi-plat kind of approach for it, but you know, leaving Xbox has got a lot of work to do. I'm not giving them any grace in that area. They definitely need to work harder. I'm going to switch this over real quick to our members, channel member status, channel member. And this is where Chili brings it and says, I can tell you that this is not Final Fantasy XVI, but there should be a trailer for Final Fantasy XVI soon. There was a trailer planned, but it was pulled at last minute, and the project trailer that was its replacement for 16. Edit, it's also going to be on PC. And I'm wondering why it's going to be pulled. And Chili doesn't know why it was going to be pulled. It was a last minute thing. So apparently with Ray here says there's going to be another Summer Gaming Festival event. Not sure why though. Wouldn't it generate more hype at the PS5 reveal? Maybe they wanted Project Athia to get all the credits and then follow it up with 16, but somehow something doesn't add up. And if the rumor is true, the reason will remain a mystery. Chili then follows this up and says, it could be a simple thing as the trailer just ended up not being rendered in time to be submitted to the event due to the COVID issue. And they found a major issue with what they had, but still, it's all work rumors and more at this time. And I want to kind of tap into this because specifically, I think that makes sense. Like if it's not ready to show, don't show it. If it's going to be a 10-year project, because that's the joke, is it's going to be a 10-year project. Thanks, Chili, for being a member and supporting the workforce here. With that join button, but yeah, if it's going to be a 10-year project, geez Louise, like no thank you, I don't want to know about it, and I just want to wait. So Final Fantasy 16 overall, like this is actually more a critique of the current existing structure that we have with the IGN summer event, the stuff on YouTube. Honestly, it just feels so chaotic, if that makes any kind of sense. Like I just feel like there could be a little bit more of a heads up as to what's going on And that's like when we talk about things getting pulled, when we talk about like, where is this information? What should I be paying attention to? We even covered it with the PSO2 event that they had on IGN that ended up getting leaked. I definitely feel a void for E3 this year. And I know people are trying to scramble, and I know they're trying to fill in the gaps and things like that. The PlayStation 5 event was by far, I think, really well done, and probably what we'll see these kind of things moving to. But I do feel that unified sense of like, here is all the stuff that's happening. It seems like everybody's kind of making their announcements and it's out there, but like, I don't know. I think Final Fantasy 16 definitely deserves to be announced at a big time thing. Now, when we talk about the summer event, right? Like, if there's another gaming festival this summer, the next one that at least that I'm aware of outside of like the stuff that usually happens like into August when we're talking about PAX, when we're talking about Gamescom, things like that. Like, the only thing I can think of would be the Xbox event, which is in July. They've already announced that. They're supposedly going to be doing something in June, but it's their Xbox 2020 series. And so the question would be, if like, I'd love to know what you think. If not, it doesn't show up on PlayStation. Don't know why I'm struggling saying that. If it does not show up on or didn't show up on the PlayStation 5 event launch thing, what if it shows up on the Xbox? And I don't want it to be exclusive, by no means necessary. It's a multi-platform game. Let people play Final Fantasy. Don't have them locked behind systems. I hate that approach. It drives me nuts. I can somewhat get behind the timed exclusive, but that's a thing for another day. So love to know your thoughts. Like, how radical would that be of a shift with Microsoft really pushing Final Fantasy on their platform, much like with PS4, like, grab the Call of Duty and grab those licenses. Things like that. As long as it's not timed exclusive, I don't like that whatsoever, especially with the title like Final Fantasy, and because I just think that'd be wrong if there's any other word for it. Trey says, when I saw Demon's Souls trailer, I fully expected them to start playing the Souls game finally, or want me to start playing the Souls game finally. I honestly thought it looked beautiful. Like, it looked beautiful when you start to see the side-by-side screenshots of it. Like, honestly, I'm not going to say no. I'm never going to sit here and say, like, no, I'm never going to play that game. It's just not something that I'm like, oh man, like, let me go grab that. Let me go play that today. I don't have that kind of draw. I don't have that connection to the Souls franchise, and maybe that should change, but we'll have to wait and ultimately see. Zoila follows us up, and I love this comment. Your kids are excited about robot dinosaurs. That put a smile on her face. And I said, yeah, like when Maddie saw it, and she's like, I knew it was a dinosaur. And then I replied to her, it's a robot dinosaur. And they were just in love with them. And so honestly, that was probably a highlight. The only downside about PS5 event, I knew it wasn't designated for kids, but because I was watching something about video games, the kids were immediately very curious because we share that in common. We play video games together. They were wanting to watch. And so it ended up being a kind of a little show and dance of like, run out please, come, okay, you can come back in and you can watch this with the snacks, okay, you gotta leave, because some of the content, it was very varied, and I don't know how you go about doing that. I don't know how you go about with that presentation that's like, hey, this is like for all families. Oh, this is going to be something that for the real gamers, because obviously real gamers are focusing on it, and then you want that variety. So I don't know if there's a better way go into it. Colasso here 25 says, I got heavy Agnes philosophy vibes from Athia. And yeah, that's exactly what I thought it was when I first saw it. So I'm alone. Yokai here says that's the same thing. I'm gonna go ahead and love these comments. Thank you. Boop, 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 boop. And so then Aaron follows us up. There are 2 Square-Enix projects to keep an eye out now, Project Athia and Babylon's Fall. I really hope that we hear more about it, but it may not be until E3 next year. And I completely forgot about Babylon's Fall. That had fallen, not pun intended, but off my radar altogether until Aaron posted this comment. So yeah, it's just, I think we have those. We also have Bravery Default 2. There's a lot of Square Enix projects in the work. I think a big push probably is going to be, a big focus from marketing is going to be on the upcoming Marvels game, which has me concerned. I think when I look at the Marvels thing and I look at like Cyberpunk 2077, I'm easily drawn into that because I think I have enough, like, who really has enough games, right? I have enough that it's like right now occupying my time with Minecraft Dungeons, with even Torchlight 3. If you guys want to know some thoughts on that, you can check out Ginger Prime. And it's like I'm loving those games, and then I'm looking at Marvel and I'm like, you gotta have a hook and an it factor beyond just essentially playing as the Avengers. That's all good, but if they're trying to shoot for this like Destiny kind of games as a service, persistent world, Marvel evolving universe, like you gotta have a hook. You gotta have something that wants me playing that game all the time. So, but ultimately, we'll have to wait and see. Honestly, I think out of the Square-Enix projects, Outriders for me seems way more compelling, and that's not even a Destiny clone. That's not a games as a service. It's just a third-person action shooter RPG that looks like a freaking kick-ass awesome thing. I don't know. Words fail me today. Salsic says, at 1:45 you pause in speaking. Don't know why my screen just went blank. And you had me rolling on the floor. Laughing, you said, it gives me a massively pause. Final Fantasy V. I love your videos. Keep up the good work, sir. And I'm actually going to use an automated response. I try not to use those, but I think that's perfect. So, oh god, AI is going to take over the world and make fools of us all. Brian, give us more. As soon as I know more, you guys got it. So obviously with Project Athia, like if it especially ties into the world of Final Fantasy, I'll be sure to cover it here. If it's not Final Fantasy related, and it's just like an awesome action RPG, I might find that on Ginger Prime, because that's just essentially what we're doing here. It's just Final Fantasy based. That's what we love to talk about. And yeah, so you can check out that, or if you haven't followed me over on Ginger Prime, hope you like it. Check it out. Anyway, that's a fun random plug. It was not planned. I'm just going here off of the top ordered comments that YouTube has given me. Brendan says, the presentation was the same everywhere, just subtitled in native languages. So what Brendan's referring to in this case is that I was wondering if they presented different trailers or games in Japan or in things like that, because obviously when they came to the Welcome to PS5 thing, we had Yoshi P there, and I was wondering if, like, on their side in Japan, like maybe they focus more on Japanese developers, and Yoshi P being a big one. Obviously Final Fantasy XIV being a big one, backwards compat, maybe enhanced for PS5. Let's cross our fingers and hope for that regards. RD77 says, when I saw the Luminous, I immediately thought Final Fantasy, and then it had the Tomb Raider feel, and I was like, is this Final Fantasy plus Tomb Raider? Which is awesome. Like, actually, I really have enjoyed the Tomb Raider series. As some people, now I have no idea what to think. God of War look-alike, too early to draw conclusions, but I hope they go for some more new ideas. I think it's only safe bet is that it's not Final Fantasy related for me, at least. So when we talk about not Final Fantasy related, though, here's where it gets kind of tricky. If they don't even put Final Fantasy in the title and it's something, Athia's prophecy or philosophy or whatever, at the end of the day, they could even put items that are Final Fantasy-esque. They could even put like spells and magic and things like that that all relate and tie in with Final Fantasy. I honestly would love that. It can connect this universe even without it being connected by some kind of name. And in fact, if it ends up being something really exciting that they are proud of, it could build off its own entire series of that kind of action adventure RPG with Final Fantasy elements. I mean, who wouldn't want that? If you wouldn't want that, let me know, but I'm very curious as to see what they ultimately end up doing with it. Marielle writes, I don't think it will connect to Final Fantasy, but it's probably a new IP. Personally, I'll get a PS5 when there are a few games. I want the exclusives to it. Square-Enix is still scheduled for a future game show on Saturday, and we still have time for that new Final Fantasy. And so, unfortunately, in this case, what they showed off at the Future Game Show was more Outriders. And I say unfortunately because the Final Fantasy XVI hunger that's starting to well up within is just there. And so I'm very curious to see how that plays. And so we'll have to wait and see. But they showed off Outriders. I'm not knocking it at all. I'm looking forward to the next monthly update from the team as they're just going to dive in more to the different systems. Rui Lopez says, the console is sexy. A black and blue version would be killer. Regardless, I'm getting it day one. I played Demon's Souls back in the day, and I'm super hyped for this. Another day one. For anyone else that's played it, I'm saying that we will have giants from the north and will never made it into the original. That'd be cool. I don't know much about the lore, but anything giants from the north, you got me there. Philelek says, in Agnes Philosopher, it's liquid and particle formed up to the veil for things. IMO. Those monsters feel like the same concept. It's a mysterious particle and liquid forming, foaming up at the monster. While there's a leak of info about it seems to be plausible, this is the action skills that let players manipulate elements in the environment, and I clearly see that when she's summoning the vines, etc. So I hope that the leak is right, and those skills would also be left the effects in the world. So those vines that were summoned and permanent. This means the player can manipulate the world with his skills, and that sounds really cool. Honestly, yeah, that would be epic. Imagine if like whatever you're doing has that kind of impact on the level and on that design. I haven't seen that. I've known other games have done it, but I remember, and I don't even know why I'm drawing a blank on the game, but it was a first-person shooter. I remember PlayStation 2, and you could totally like change the level. You could use guns to blow up walls and dig holes and things like that. Red Faction, there it is. Decided to come back into that point, but yeah, Red Faction, you could kind of do that. I've always somewhat hoped that, especially with the first-person shooters, that we would see that level of detail, and so maybe one day. Omega Red says Demon Souls crushed it. Everything else was just icing on the cake. And then Razor follows it up. 100% brah. Oh, did I? Okay, that was my own comment. I was like, I'm not gonna love it. I love that. Demon Souls is absolutely bonkers. Project Athia looks lit though, and that's Ray again. Han says this is either a new IP or a spin-off of Final Fantasy game or Drakengard 4. Yeah. I think that's essentially what overall the comments themselves summarize. I'm very curious, and also thanks to Chili for talking about the Final Fantasy 16 trailer being delayed. We've always seen the rumors, and now we're in just this random holding period where we have to wait for even more content. Obviously, we've got lots more comments that we can review, but most of it literally is that they're sitting here like kind of focusing in on the same thing. So hopefully we covered all the information in the comments, and again, I love your comments. If you guys didn't see us, Chris and I were on the State of the Realm talking with Mr. Happy and Sly just the other day. I'm sure you can go check that out. It's a great conversation, long conversation, lots that we covered, a lot of 5.3 hype, so it was fun to be able to collab with Happy and Sly, and hopefully we'll do that again in the future. Yeah, that's pretty much what's going on. I love you guys. I love your faces. I hope you have a great, fantastic rest of your week, and we'll be seeing you soon. Take care. So we begin. I almost started singing that. So we begin with Pharaoh Forever. I apologize. I might cut that. I don't know. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. This video is sponsored by me. If you guys like podcasts and long-form content, I hope you check out Ginger Gaming Radio. Link will be in the description of this video below. So if you're still watching this video, thank you, and check out the new channel for more content, and hopefully you enjoy. Thank you.